You're asking me to confess to bringing late night to Muslims and beyond with my new project, The Shout Out Show with Preacher Moss. Well, what can I say, son? I'm guilty now. Sentence me to be funny. I dare you. Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes, and we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the S.O.S. The Shout Out Show. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. You know, it's hump day. We all try to get it in. As well, pardon me for the technical difficulties early. I made a mistake, so there may be some people who may be upset with me because the link I sent you is no longer valid. But hopefully they might be able to check on later. If not, you can check the show out later on YouTube at your earliest convenience or at your leisure. That said, I want to give some shout outs. Very good shout out from overseas. Shout out to Dean Eunice doing big things over with British Muslim TV. As well, I want to give a big shout out to my brothers out in Istanbul, if you will. That would be my brother Ali and Mustafa Davis. And big shout out also to Nia Malika Dixon, who had a very successful film festival, and I'm happy to say that my comedy special, Love Supreme Anatomy of Gratitude, won an award. So alhamdulillah for that. So here's the deal, because I kind of want to get into the topic. I like to get into topics a little bit easier, so a little bit earlier, because I realize that I'm leaving some things on the table, as we say, leaving money on the table in terms of information and conversation, if you will. So right up front, if you've come to the show for the first time, we appreciate you. Simple rules: feel welcome. I want you to feel welcome. I want you to feel invited, not only for today, but for the next day. If you want to actually be a real part of this shout out show, you have something to say. We value all opinions. Put it in the comment section, please. Put it in the comment section and let us know what you're thinking. I'm going to introduce you to the stars in the building. That's what I call them, the stars in the building, the people who are in the comment section. Check out the show on the regular. And if you're new for the first time, don't be intimidated. The people I'm going to be introducing you are amazing people. Like I said, we have an eclectic group of people that come on the show. And I just want to introduce you to them. And hopefully, if you come back, you might be a part of them. How about that? And a favor for myself, please, if you come on the show, click that subscribe button, click that notify button, click the like button, the little blue box with the white hand, if you don't mind. That's what white people do for like, hey, there you go. So check that out. So let me get some stars in the building. One of our stars is not in the building today. That is Sister Ree. Sister Ree and her husband Derek are traveling to Michigan. They're flying to Chicago. We're going to drive over to Michigan. She's going to be doing some caretaking for our aunt. Alhamdulillah, our aunt got out of rehab, so that's good news. Make sure you make massive du'as for Derek and Sister Reed. And the reason I'm going to say that is because they took Spirit Airlines. And, I'm not Catholic, but, I'm not Catholic, but I do one of those. Anybody taking Spirit, here's a suggestion. Pay up front for everything. I heard they charge for seatbelts and oxygen masks. It's a rumor. I started it, so it could be true. All right, so let me get to my stars in the building, brothers and sisters, because this is going to be a little bit of opinion show. I'm going to lay out the context of it, if you will. I'm going to give you a minute to think. We're going to have a little commercial break. We're going to come back. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the issues. So let me get some people up here. We got Sister Satana, our consultant producer and star host. She is a star in the making, our host. Comes on the show, make sure the show is pertinent, that we're on time. A big part of doing a show like this over and over and over and over and over again is the fact that, you learn discipline. So I've gotten to the point, brothers and sisters, where I want to elevate the show, and I hope that I have your duas and support to do so. Might be some kinks along the way, but it's all about good intention, and I'm going to talk about that too. Good intention. All right, here we go. Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. See, I'm ahead of it, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Sultana. That's why I have Sultana. I can't even keep the days straight. Astaghfirullah, it's only 7 days, and I messed up one of them already. All right. And from across the sea, we got Sister Ravina Chaudhry, who is a star. She is our research and data analyst who gives me all kinds of stuff off the show to think about, to circulate in my mind. And this show, Sister Ravina and Sister Brother Altaf, I think you might like. So here we go. And another note is Sister Rabina comes all the way over from the UK, which is a big deal because she's staying up. I think it's like 11 o'clock there. She's staying up. She's in the PJs. We appreciate you coming to the show anytime you come. Altaf representing the Great White North. It's not so white anymore, but the Great White North of Canada and Toronto and all those things. Brother, we appreciate you coming in. I think... I really appreciate you coming to the show, man. And I know I owe you a Washington Nationals hat, and I have one for you, brother. So we'll work that out. So that's right. And though she's not here, we got to give her duas, brother. She's got to give her duas. Wonderful news for Reed. Blessings when we recover of your aunt. So that's the deal, brothers and sisters. That's the deal. So I want to get a little bit into some subject matter, if you will. The subject matter is the year 2020, friend or foe. The year 2020, friend or foe. Now, I came across this because I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and we started talking about the whole aspect of 2020. What made 2020 what it was? Was it COVID? Was it loss of jobs? Things like that. And I'm like, if we took the bad things out of it, what kind of year would 2020 have been? What kind of year 2020 would have been? So would it be a friend year or a foe year? Because I started thinking about things. I was like, you still would have had Trump. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or it's a good thing. A lot of those best. Because I've learned in this business that you can't judge people by cycles. Though you want to, you can't judge people by cycles. Because cycles are interesting because they're interconnected with so many things. You see, I believe that COVID, in some regards, was a friend to me. I can't talk about everybody else, but I think COVID was a friend to me. And this is irregardless of the fact that I caught COVID, irregardless of I know people who are affected by COVID, and I'm taking the health piece out of it. Any loss of life is bad loss of life. But it's a natural loss of life in some regards. People are going to leave this earth, and we all know that. My father says so unpolitically, ain't nobody getting out here alive. And he is correct. However, I learned things about myself. And what are some of the things that you learned about yourself during COVID? I learned in some regards, it was good that I learned to save some money. And I also learned, I have to value things in a real-time type of way. The things I used to do, like how I talk to my mom. I love my mom, but sometimes I'll be like trying to get off the phone because I want to do this, that, and the other. And I realized one time I talked to my mom and I looked at the time because I didn't have to be on a plane and I didn't have to do a show. And we talked for about an hour and a half. And at the end of that hour and a half, I said, Alhamdulillah. And I told my mom, thank you. I said, thank you. I said, because you know what? I've been missing these type of conversations. It's very easy to frame 2020 in terms of what we lost, frame 2020 in terms of what we sacrificed. But, in a real, really, really, really constructive way, we also have to look at, what good came out of 2020. there were some aspects of good that came out of 2020, which was you had a population, you had an identity of people who said justice is for everybody. Now, COVID kind of flipped it because COVID was like, I'm an equal opportunity infection. But it drove a lot of narrative, a lot of narrative for who we are. And it's gonna shape who we are moving forward for the next whatever 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We'll be telling this story to our kids and our grandkids for years. Some of our kids grew up in it. But I think that the thing is, I want to be very, very careful, mindful, and astute because what I do know about COVID, and we're gonna put it out here. I'm gonna put it out. What we do know about COVID is the COVID that it became didn't necessarily have to be that COVID. And so this was, in some regards, this was in some regards a wake up call about human character, about human greed, about the willingness of individuals to sacrifice other individuals. And I believe that if COVID didn't happen, we may not have been looking at it this way. We may not have been framing like these people are making decisions that literally affect our lives, affect our income, affect our way of living, affect how we pay our bills and things like that. And I do. I hold a deep, deep sadness for people who suffer. I'm only human. Yeah, I'm very sad. I mean, just different things that you find out, like 1 in 5 kids don't have enough food here in the United States. Here in the United States, 1 in 5 kids don't have food. And the killer part was the money was allocated, so it made me a lot more reticent of what's going on around me, not just in business, but outside of business. And I got to see a lot more the interconnected. If when people have to be stripped down to their bare essentials, you're going to find out who people are. I'm going to put this up with Sister Rabina says that, okay, 2020 was an absolute friend because it now for a global consciousness time of waking. Yeah, we take things for granted. What do you think, Altaf? You're up in Toronto. Toronto has a reputation of the government taking care of its people. I talked about a conversation I had earlier with Usted Ubayla Evans about stimulus checks. Toronto, say what you want, people, but they really had a plan together, and the plan wasn't necessarily thrown together. It followed the template of how they take care of their people. It followed the template of how they take care of their people. And we didn't have that template. We had a template of how we take care of ourselves, but we didn't have a template of how we take care of our society. So I looked at that and I was like, wow, that is absolutely amazing. It's something that reminded me even more about, hey, man, we really have to look at it. And despite what the United States did, despite what the president did, 2020 started out great. 2020 started out great for a lot of people. But then I had hiccups. Like I took ill in 2020. At the end of 2019, I took ill, carried over to 2020. And 2 days after Kobe Bryant died, I passed away. I mean, I didn't. Kobe Bryant passed away. That I believe I came down with COVID. It's a basic fact. But it was interesting up until that time, man, that Kobe Bryant's death made people stop. Hear me now. Made people stop and look around and appreciate one another because it was so quick, it was so final, it was so huge. And then COVID came around, as if we didn't learn from Kobe Bryant. As if Kobe Bryant's death wasn't enough, then this happened. So I would say for me, 2020 was a friend. We haven't finished it yet. And there are a lot of questions about how everybody's going to do in 2021. But I have to say that it definitely toughened me up. Like it gave me a lot more understanding of how the world works and how it doesn't work. They say you never know somebody until they're under pressure, right? Or you never know how good somebody is until pressure is applied. The old adage is pressure busts a pipe, but pressure on a piece of coal can make a diamond. So it was that fast or famine type of deal. And everybody, for lack of a better word, whether it was your job, or your family, or quarantine, everybody had to get on that flat foot hustle. When I say flat foot hustle, I mean you have to do whatever you got to do, bar any illegal activity, to make it happen. So I found myself doing things with a production company. I found things with teaching. I found things with consulting. And I appreciate it because I don't believe if my 2020 had just been smooth without some of the things that happened, that I don't know if it would have happened. So Tano will tell you, we talked about a lot of things, but just a shout out show, just this platform, brothers and sisters, is representative of the fact that we really looked at it and said, hey, let's do something different. Let's get out and have a platform where we talk to people. Now, believe me, brothers and sisters, I don't have 100 million followers, or I don't have that. Had some discipline, had the well-being and the well wishes of people like yourself who come on the show. So I think that's interesting. Now, I even misspelled his friend or foe, brothers and sisters. So I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna flashback. Oh, we got sister. Okay, brother, I'll talk. Let me say. I say friend because Sister Ravina said you became aware of things that were taken for granted and you became aware of the true intentions of people. Yeah, I found that my business, while I had to reframe it, I don't know about everybody else, my business, my personal relationships, even some of my religious relationships, I had to reframe it because I had to begin to ask the questions like, what are people's intentions? Not just for me, I had to see other people's intentions for other people. And that was one thing I don't normally get to do. I get to see people's intentions with other people. Like sometimes I'll do an event, right? And people go, we're raising money for this event. This is the first time in life I got to call people up and go, how's that event going? Are the people getting that money, or do you guys need some help? There was one time I helped raise some money, and I called the place up that I helped raise money, and they were like, "Hey, we're doing a food drive next week." And I remember I just popped up. I did a pop up help out to do a food drive. So let me welcome Sister Aika to the show all the way from Indonesia. Waalaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sister Aika, thank you so much for coming on the show. So let me ask you now. I want you guys to take a second. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to give you guys a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about why people might think that 2020 might be a foe. Let's talk about the other side of it. Preacher Moss Shadow Show. I'll be right back.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Preacher Moss on Bowtie Monday. I'm realizing that with the COVID situation, I need to be a better person. I need to let things go, and you need to let some things go too. And my neighbor across the street, I don't really know him. What I do know is he doesn't like black people, and he doesn't like Muslims.
Every Muslim is a terrorist.
All I know is when he sees me, he hates me twice because he has to make a choice. But today, I'm going to be a bigger man. I'd like to show you to him, but I'd probably get sued. But hold on. Let me show you how being a bigger man looks. Hey, neighbor! Neighbor! Hey! I know we had some problems in the past. I want to let that go. I want to have a clean slate, man. I don't know where you're going or what you're doing, but today, from your brother Preacher Moss, listen, I want you to have the best day you can have possible. Devil.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry, brother. It's just something just cracked me up. Sometimes I crack myself up. But let's get back to this point. Why is it a foe? Now we have Sister Rabina. She has a comment here. I'm trying to work through it. People growing their own food in their gardens, becoming more and more self-sufficient communities are coming together collectively to ensure neighbors have basic necessities. I'm going to tell you why I believe 2020 is a foe to some people. It's a friend to me, but I can see where it's a foe to some people. a lot of perceptions were smashed in 2020. I'm talking about a lot of perception, a lot of innuendo, a lot of myths about how government works, a lot of myths about how politicians work, a lot of myths about how racism has gone away. A lot of, I want to say, really, 2020 was a foe to whiteness. I've never seen white supremacy threatened in a way like it was. And I'm gonna tell you why it was threatened. And you can jump in. Let me give Sister Sultana. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Sister Ali. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm gonna tell you why I think whiteness found 2020 to be a foe. Because one of the few times you had white people questioning their own whiteness in a very broad and open and public way. The words about privilege and people saying I'm privileged and I benefit from privilege was amazing. It's like somebody saying, you know what? I'm winning, but to win, this is how I win. And how I win is not even, it's not fair. It's not equal. But I'm going to say this is how it is. That was a powerful statement. And I also thought that 2020, I think 2020 is a foe moving forward because this is potentially the last election whereby the strength of numbers of people of color will determine elections now. I don't know what's going to happen down in Georgia. I don't know what's happening, June the 6th with all this craziness, but I'm going to tell you something. People of color, and I'm not going to say people of color who made intelligent decisions and asked intelligent questions are now the thing that are in place. They are now the thing that people worry about. So you have a whole nother alternate reality right now with people who talk about the election being rigged and the election's illegal. But that's an outgrowth. That's an outgrowth because you had so many people who stood up in a legitimate way in a legitimate election and represented themselves. They let the powers that be let them know that we're not satisfied. And not only being satisfied, we now understand the apparatus to make the change. So this was kind of a good year. I mean, take away COVID, and I'm in no way, brothers and sisters, in no way am I going to diminish the dangers of COVID. COVID is extremely dangerous. But let's be honest. If there was no COVID, you're talking about over 700,000 people passing away from other disease, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, and in a lot of ways, there's a markup on COVID because I believe COVID exacerbated, if you will, pre-existing conditions. But I don't know, it just killed everybody on its own merits as an infectious disease. You see what I'm saying? Or not. But let me give you this one. Okay, hey, Sister Deborah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Shout Out Show, Sister Deborah. Thank you so much for coming. Hope you're having a blessed day. But let me go back to the friend side of 2020. The friend side of 2020 let me know in a nutshell what our economy was. Because for a period of time, for a large group of people, including myself in the workforce, you know what's amazing? We were truly entrepreneurs. When you couldn't go to work, you couldn't be sent for work, you had to find different ways to express yourself. And I'm saying, this is an amazing thing. Sister Sultana talked about, yes, smoking kills millions of people every year. Millions of people. So that said, like I said, I'm not diminishing any of the numbers of the over 300,000 people. Let me say 300,000 people that COVID is attributed to killing. Attributed to killing. Because some people, you know, heart disease, and you know how people go. We all know how people go. When it's your time, it's your time. So I don't want to be naive that way. But the one foe, the one group that I felt suffer um, in 2020, and I've said this before, is our children. And the children suffered because of I want to say the inability of people to care for them. And I'm talking about our elected officials and these doctors and scientists. We're giving out vaccines right now. We're giving out vaccines right now, and we're having people take vaccines and stuff like that. And we don't really know what the whole ramification of the vaccines are. You heard me rant about sending kids back to school. They don't know what COVID is going to do to a body 2-3 years from now. So I felt like 2020 was a foe to our children because our children couldn't protect themselves. Our children were relying on us and governmental structures that we entrust with our safety and our livelihood and our lives, and that process let us down. So let me give a shout out. Oh, thank you, Sister Rabina. Met Preacher Monster on IG. Thank you to him. We might have met during normal circumstances, but I'm glad we met now. Let me see. Sister done smoking compromises the lungs. Well, yeah. The interesting thing was for a period of time, folks didn't even know that putting people on ventilators could kill them. When people got on ventilators, they were forcing breathing, and it actually exacerbated the COVID. And a lot of people died because of it. It took them 2 months to realize you can't put everybody on a ventilator because you're going from not being able to breathe to now you're overcompensating, and people died. Yeah, that was real talk. But my point, brothers and sisters, whatever 2020 was to you, whether it was a friend or a foe, it happened. And my parting words are this: it happened, and it happened for a reason. Those of us that are religious folks know that, a lot of them make mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes, right? And all of that to say is, this thing happened for a reason. I'm not exactly sure why it happened, but it happened. I mean, I look back at the early 1900s when they had that Spanish flu, and I looked at the pictures, and I said, at some point in time, somebody there said, I don't know what is happening, but it's happening. Maybe it's just a reminder that we don't know everything about the world. We're not the smartest creatures in the world, because it seems that death is a lot smarter than we are. And for that, brothers and sisters, I'm thankful for whatever 2020 brought, just like 2019 brought, just like 2021 is going to bring. But I found, friend or foe, is that you gotta be thankful. You gotta be grateful. And then you gotta be focused on being thankful and grateful. And in that space, when you got a little time, you gotta be just a little creative. And that little bit of faith you have has to be expanded to a whole lot of faith. Expanded not just for you, but for the people around you. I haven't been to a real masjid Juma in months. The ones I go to are like socially distanced. A masjid that holds 400 or 500 people now got 30, and they're all spread out. But the beautiful thing about it is, though it's all spread out and it's socially distanced, the faith, the belief is not socially distanced. And one thing I'd be happy for as a Muslim is that I'm not socially distanced from my Lord. How about that? Because you don't want to be that kind of social distance. I'm giving a shout out to my mom. All right, Mom, son. Thank you, Mary Moss. I appreciate you. I owe you an apology because I messed up the broadcast, so I apologize to you later once the show is over. But let me close on this fact, brothers and sisters. Like I said, we all have our own opinions, our own thoughts on 2020 as it goes out. But just keep those things about your faith and being grateful and being thankful. Keep those things in front of you because those are the things that you carry from year to year to year. And let's just be thankful that we're not socially distanced from a loving God and a loving Lord. All right. Well, listen, that's it for today. I want everyone to have an amazing day. This is Preacher Monster Shout Out Show. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday. Thank you, Satana. Oh, we got one more comment here. Hey, what's going on, little brother? True words, Mama Monster. All right, so everybody have a great day. This was a low. This was like a real nice laid back thought. But think about it when you get a chance about, for lack of a better word, think about how you're going to see your 2020. Okay, I'm Preacher Mas. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care, everybody.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarif Attar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifattar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.